Hello, welcome. I'm hoping everybody's joined okay, and thank you for joining me on your Friday morning. I'm really pleased to be here. I'm going to talk to you a little bit about Kidney Research UK. So thank you very much for joining. So just a little bit about me. My name's Heather Reid. I'm fairly new to Team Kidney, as we call it at Kidney Research UK. I've been the volunteer officer since June last year. But I do have a background of working with health-based charities since 2021, and before that, an education background. So today I'm here to talk to you about kidney disease, and I'm going to talk a little bit about kidney health generally, kidney failure, kidney disease, and about the charity itself, and then what you can take away, what you can do differently, hopefully as a result of this presentation today. So I'm really proud to be a part of Kidney Research UK, which has done so much to improve our understanding in the UK of kidney disease, but there is a lot more to do. So we've been around since 1961, and we've helped shape the treatment and care of people living with kidney disease. We're the leading kidney research charity in the UK, and we're driving faster progress for everybody who's affected by kidney disease. And that's probably a lot more people than certainly the more than I realised when I first started. Because kidney disease is growing in the UK at an alarming rate, and it is threatening to overwhelm our NHS, but we perhaps don't hear about it as much as some of the other diseases that fit into that category. Not going to go through our strategy in any detail. Please don't switch off. It's just a little bit so that you know what we're looking to do. So our vision is a day when everybody is free of kidney disease, and we're doing that through our goals of preventing more people getting kidney disease, developing it, those in kidney disease, protecting those from moving on to kidney failure, and I will talk a little bit more about the difference a bit later on in the presentation. And in the meantime, transforming treatments for those who are living with kidney failure in the UK. And we're trying to do that by having faster progress, accelerating discovery, making the interventions count by making sure they go to patients as quickly as possible, by having a community, and I'm hoping what I'm doing today is hoping to widen the community of people who are understanding about kidney disease and kidney health, making change and doing the best we possibly can, do the best way we possibly can. So this is what we're doing for difference for people living with and at risk of kidney disease. And that might be you, that might be people you love, and you might know that you're high risk, you might not know you're high risk, but hopefully as a result, you get a bit more aware of it as a result of this. So we want better awareness so more people know how to look after their kidney health. Better treatment, so dialysis is kinder, more tolerable, more effective. And I'll talk a little bit more about dialysis and what it is a little bit later on. An early diagnosis. A lot of people don't realise, they don't know what to look for, they don't necessarily get tested. So early diagnosis, so people get treatment before irreversible damage is done. So that's so important. Better transplants that last longer, require less monitoring and offer a better quality of life. I think I thought before I joined Team Kidney that you got a transplant and that was it, you were sorted. And that often is absolutely not the case. New treatments to slow the disease so people can avoid dialysis and transplants for longer, so people can stay without needing them for a bit for longer is good. And improving delivery, making sure everybody gets the best quality treatment and support. So I'm just doing a little kidney quiz, and I can't hear or see you, but feel free either to put something in the chat if you've got an answer, or just think to yourself, write it down, whatever. It's just a little bit of what you know about kidneys. So how many kidneys do we have? Well, most of us have 2 kidneys, and You can see on the picture above that where they are. They sit deep in the abdomen, behind the liver and intestines, in the small of the back at either side of your spine. And how big are they? Well, shaped like a bean, the most kidneys about the size of your fist. So an adult's kidney is about 10 to 15 centimetres long, and it weighs between 40 grams and 190 grams. And the left and the right can vary in size and weight, as lots of bits of our body varies. We're not always totally symmetrical on that. So how many kidneys do we need? Many people lead healthy lives with just one working kidney. Now, that could be because some people are just born with just one. They may have had one removed, or they may have chosen to donate one, which I'll talk a little bit more about later on. So, a little bit about kidney failure and kidney disease. What is kidney failure, first of all? Kidney failure is the most severe form of kidney disease, and it's also known as stage 5 chronic kidney disease, or CKD. So if you're talking to people, people might often say CKD, and this is what they mean. By this stage, your kidneys have lost nearly all of their function. Now, why does that matter? Well, the kidneys have got a really important role in the body. They filter the waste and the toxins from the blood. They help to maintain the correct water balance and regulate blood pressure, and they return certain minerals back into the bloodstream and produce essential hormones. So when your kidneys fail, it is life-threatening, and then without treatment, that can be fatal. So most people who are living with kidney failure will either need dialysis or have a kidney transplant. So what are the risk factors of kidney disease? Well, kidney disease is a term that doctors use to include any abnormality of the kidneys. And we talk about kidney disease, but there's lots of different types of things, as there are with most health-related things. And it can affect anybody at any age. However, certain factors may mean that you are at greater risk of developing kidney disease. Diabetes is commonly linked, and particularly if it's not well controlled. High blood pressure, again, high blood pressure is a real link to kidney disease, as it is to diabetes, heart disease, and other things. So it's a really important thing to be aware of within your health. Cardiovascular disease, conditions affecting the heart or the blood vessels. If you've got a family history of kidney disease, there is a big genetic element to this. So, and I often speak to patients, volunteers, a lot of our volunteers are patients. They talk about how a number of their family also have kidney disease. That's quite common. You're at higher risk in certain ethnic groups from kidney disease. If you're a smoker, that makes you a higher risk. If you have overweight or obesity, you're at higher risk. And if you're a user of cocaine, heroin, or other hard drugs, you're at higher risk. So, what are the signs of kidney disease? I'm just going to share this little video to give you an idea of what sort of things you should be aware of. Just bear with me. Well, we've tested the tech, but you never can tell when you're doing it live. It's never quite the same.
Kidney disease doesn't always have symptoms or signs, and people can often appear healthy and well. It's only at the later stages of the disease where they may appear. Symptoms to look out for are itchy skin, feeling tired, feeling sick, difficulty concentrating, unusually out of breath, poor appetite and weight loss, increased need to urinate, protein or blood in your urine. Our vision is the day when everyone lives free from kidney disease. Research will take us to that day. To find out more about kidneys and staying kidney fit, visit kidneyresearchuk.org.
So you can see there's lots of symptoms that you might be aware of, you might not be aware of. On the right-hand side is a poster our volunteers often take out so that you can put in, you may have seen something similar in toilets and things, just to be aware and encourage people to know. I certainly wasn't aware that itchy skin, for example, was a sign before I joined kidney research. So what are the treatments for kidney failure? So if we're living with kidney failure, so that's stage 5, where kidney disease has progressed so that your kidneys have got very little function. The treatment options often include having a kidney transplant or having dialysis. Now, dialysis works by performing some of the functions of the kidney, such as removing waste from your blood and helping to maintain balanced levels of fluid and minerals. So a lot of the people I talk to, patients I talk to, have to, several times a week, have dialysis. Sometimes that happens at home, sometimes that's in hospital, but it's something they have to do regularly in order to be able to function as the rest of us do, normally with our kidneys working. Also have a kidney transplant. And a kidney transplant is an operation to place a healthy donated kidney into the body. And if that's successful, if that works, the donated kidney takes over the lost functions of the original kidneys. And that transplant can come from a living donor, as we mentioned before about you can live perfectly okay with one kidney, or it can be from a deceased donor. It's sometimes from a family match, sometimes from a stranger, all sorts of different situations on that. Patients may have the option to choose conservative care, focusing on managing symptoms and maintaining the quality of their life. Now, whilst kidney failure, that's stage 5 CKD, is severe, there are lifestyle changes that can be made to try and protect that remaining kidney function. And management of other medical conditions related, such as high blood pressure and diabetes, is important, and because these things can damage the kidneys. So it's really important to follow your doctor's advice, taking any medications, attending appointments. And how can you keep your kidneys healthy so that you don't get, you're decreasing your risk of getting kidney disease and then the possibility of going to kidney failure? A lot of these things are similar to how you keep healthy in other ways. Avoiding a high salt diet and not adding salt. We hear a lot about that. It's good for all sorts of other things as well as healthy kidneys. Sticking to a healthy diet, maintaining a healthy weight, keeping active and exercising regularly, not smoking, and avoiding regular or long-term use of pain medication unless that's something your doctor's prescribed. That's a little bit I've talked about kidney health and kidney disease and kidney failure. I'm not medical, and it's obviously a very brief look at awareness, but there is a lot more information on our website about all those things, and I'll talk a little bit more after the presentation about how you can find out more. But I want to say a little bit more about, because we're a research charity, what other things we do in the research charity, as well as that awareness of kidney health. So a little bit about research. Now, I'm not going to read out the full things of the slides. There are lots of examples of research on the website, but I just wanted to pick out just a few to give an idea about what's happening to try and improve things in the area of kidney health. So as a charity, in 2024 to 25, we invested just over 12.5 million across research, awareness and education. And I just want to mention 3 research grants that were given that are in place at the moment. So this first one is researchers from the universities of Nottingham and Derby, and they are looking into trying to improve. There can be sudden blood pressure drops during dialysis, and they're looking to find a way of measuring blood pressure continuously, so that at the moment everything is tested at different stages, but a continual testing will be easier to pick those things up and then can help with those symptoms. So that's what that research is being involved in at the moment. And then there's also this one on the left, this is Sam Tingle, who is a surgeon and researcher at Newcastle University. And he's looking at donated kidneys, how you can tell whether a special ultrasound scan to test whether a donated kidney, how it's going to be when it's transplanted, be able to measure that to have an idea on how it will function when it's been put after transplant. So that's a really important thing to be able to, because transplants do fail, and be able to predict if it's going to work, how well it's going to work is a really important thing. So that's that. And then this final piece of research I'm mentioning, Juliet Briggs, who is from King's College Hospital. And this is about an online prehabilitation program for kidney transplant candidates, and about preparing physically and emotionally before surgery, supporting surgery and aiding recovery. And often when I talk to patients, this is something that's mentioned quite often, about the variation around the country and how much support in recovery and how much preparation. And a lot of patients, volunteers that I've spoken to, have said even when they got their diagnosis, the implications of the mental health, the emotional impact of this wasn't really, they didn't really feel prepared. So a really fantastic thing that Juliet's doing. So a little bit about policy team activity, because I mentioned at the beginning how we wanted to make sure we're being an influence, and that's important. So our objectives are to move kidney disease up the agenda of government and the NHS, raise awareness of kidney disease amongst parliamentarians, and transform health outcomes for people with and at risk of kidney disease through having policy change. And we've got a picture at the top with Sandra, who's our chief exec, and Meeting West Treating, and that is Charlie, a young transplant recipient, and very much involved in sharing his story. So just bear with me. Our policy priorities, what's important? Early diagnosis and access to treatments. As I've said before, so important that happens. Mental health support, continually prioritised as being so important. Addressing health inequalities. I touched on, I think on the last slide, how people in different parts of the country have different support. And there's also the inequalities of provision through all sorts of different demographics. So that's a really important thing to look at. And increasing government funding for research. So as I said at the start, I am the volunteer officer. So I'm part of a team involving volunteers and patient involvement. So there's myself and my boss, Becky, working alongside a patient participation team, and our as a team is making sure that the patient's voice is heard, and we're passing that information on via volunteering and making the raising awareness as widely as we possibly can do. And I wanted to talk a little bit about the different volunteer roles. I was really pleased to be asked to come and talk, because we could really do with getting a higher number of volunteers, a higher number of awareness in Wales. I had hopes that one of our fantastic community investor volunteers, Darren, who is in South Wales, very active, was going to talk about his experience. Unfortunately, he hasn't been able to join me today, but I will talk about one of our other volunteers a little bit later at the end. So we've got various volunteer roles that people can join. Our community ambassador role is a role It's very flexible, it's very proactive, and it's across the UK generally. And it's about raising awareness of kidney health within the individual volunteers community. So everybody who's a community ambassador has some link to kidney health. They might be patients themselves, so they might have had a kidney transplant. They might be a dialysis patient. It may be that they have friends or family who are living with kidney disease or living with kidney failure. It may be that they have lost somebody to kidney disease, but they've got a passionate reason why kidney health is really important to them. And the sort of things they do is they share things on social media. Quite a lot of them do podcasts about their personal situation, their personal experience, and how to raise awareness and help other people who are maybe just getting a diagnosis or not aware of some of the issues. They deliver presentations, this sort of thing, depending on the audience. So people have delivered presentations to work. They have delivered presentations to WI groups. They've delivered presentations to junior doctors. So it's a very varied group. They will go into various things within their community and say, can we put up a kidney health stand? We've got World Kidney Day coming up in March, so a lot of our community ambassadors are finding places where they can do a health stand to raise awareness of kidney health. So I've got somebody down in Kent who's doing one in the local shopping centre. I've got somebody in Leicester who's doing a stand in their work. It's got over 1,000 employees. I've got people going into real units and hospitals and working alongside the NHS doing kidney health stands there. And people do them at village fetes, they do them in gyms, and also delivering leaflets, asking people to put up posters. So if somebody's got a community notice board at their village hall, they say, can I come in and can I put a poster up? One of my amazing community ambassadors up in Scotland will generally go into a health-related area, a GP surgery or a health centre, and say, do you have any information about kidney health? And when they often say, well, no, we don't, but there's probably something online, we say, well, I've got some leaflets and posters. Would you be able to put some up for me? Because I'm from Kidney Research UK and we've got this information. So that's that community ambassador role. And we're all over the country, so we meet together virtually. We've also got the peer educator role, which is not dissimilar, but it's more specific project-based for specific communities. So these are normally recruited for a certain length of time to focus on raising awareness within a community where perhaps they're high risk or they're not as engaging as we would like them to be, and often in a particular geographical area for a particular length of time. Now, so obviously we also have volunteers who don't necessarily have a link to kidney health themselves, but they recognise how very important this is as a good cause and they want to be involved. So they often come on board as event volunteers. And we have various of our own events across the country, things like our Bridges Walk. We do things at various marathons. I know we had, I had cheering volunteers helping at the half marathon in Cardiff last October. And so a lot of the volunteers who help support with that, they haven't got that personal connection, but they're also very keen to come on board, learn more, and do things like marshalling, always looking for marshalling volunteers. That sometimes some people as a group of employees sometimes do, or a social group. Sometimes they come as a group and do that. And all the sort of things that involve with an event. So registering supporters, selling merchandise, handing out medals sometimes at an event. And sometimes if one of our supporters or our volunteers is doing their own personal event, they say, well, have you got some volunteers that can help? So the lady I mentioned who is doing the kidney health stand in Kent, for example, she's got 2 event volunteers who are just going to be helping. They don't necessarily have the kidney knowledge that she has with her personal experience, but they're helping do things on the practical side of it. We've also got the lay advisory group, which is about strengthening patient and public involvement within Kidney Research UK. So we're making sure that what we're doing is definitely relevant to the people that it touches. Patient involvement can involve being a renal unit contact. We have a volunteer role that is a renal unit contact, and a lot of those are people who are visiting their local renal unit because they're going regularly for dialysis anyway. So getting them on board to be the contact between us as a charity and the renal unit, and also talk to the parents because they've been there, and there's nothing like peer support, nothing like talking to somebody who has been through it themselves. We've got a Kidney Voices for Research Facebook group. We have patient involvement sessions and focus groups where researchers are asking for, have you got people with this particular condition or in this particular situation, so we can find out more. So I sat in on a research presentation recently where volunteer patients were assessing how a proposal for a grant for research would actually impact them as patients, and sharing their patient voice in media campaigns. So I'm going to start sharing fairly soon and talk a little bit more about how you can take this information on board and do something with it. But I just want to end the presentation by sharing this. Is it inside you to save a life? Because this is very recently on the Smiling Charity Film Awards, we submitted this video as in it's a Robert Danger partnership, which is delivered in partnership with Kidney Research UK and Give a Kidney. And we've recently discovered that we are finalists in this, and we need to wait till mid-March to see if the judges decide we win in our category. But I do think it's quite an impactful film, so I'm going to attempt to share that with you. So bear with me while I do the search.
6 people die every week while waiting for a kidney, and you can do something.
I became aware of the shortage of kidneys available for transplant, and I knew that I had 2 kidneys and I only needed 1. I was aware that other people needed a kidney.
I went into hospital for the operation on Friday. I was out on Tuesday. The pain was minimal. Indeed, when I woke up from the operation, my first thought was, they haven't done it, because I didn't feel in any pain. And I had to go, oh yeah, they have.
The scar is actually quite small. Within a few weeks, you don't even notice it's there really, and it's just healed up so well. You can help someone in such a drastic way without really affecting my life.
Once we found out how easy it was and how you could live a normal life afterwards, there was nothing stopping me. It was just an easy decision.
I do all the things I used to do. I eat all the food I used to eat. I drink all the things I used to drink. It has not had any impact on my life following the recovery.
It's the greatest thing you can do for somebody else. It really is. Changes their life totally.
But there's someone who's alive because of what I've done, and that makes it completely worth it.
Okay, so I am going to talk a little bit before I invite questions, but thank you for your time. I'm going to attempt to stop sharing and just talk a little bit without the presentation. Thank you. So thank you for watching the presentation. I hope you found it interesting. As I said before, I had hoped to have Darren, one of our South Wales community ambassador volunteers, with us. And that hasn't happened. So I did want to talk about Angelina, because Angelina has very recently shared her story on our website. We're going to have a social media campaign in the very near future sharing her story. And one of my colleagues asked Angelina about what made her want to volunteer. And Angelina is 34, she's living in Scotland. And she was diagnosed in 2017 with a very rare type of hereditary kidney disease. So Angelina does not have lots of people who she can relate to that have that disease, even within the kidney world, because it's rare. And she very sadly lost her sister to a related condition when her sister was pregnant in 2018. So she lost her sister and she lost her niece at the same time. And so she chose to volunteer in memory of her sister and niece. And Angelina says it's all about helping people. Some of the things she does, she supports people in her local renal unit. She raises money for research. And she's even attended the Scottish Parliament as an advocate for people affected by kidney disease. So we have her story on the website. We also have stories of lots of other volunteers about why they've got into volunteering. So I hope you'll take a look at that and read some of these stories about these amazing, inspiring people who have used something really difficult. Angelina said to me, I don't know. Every day I go to bed, I don't know whether I will wake up in the morning. And her result of that is that she does as much as she possibly can to make things better and to lead a full life. So I've been talking to you for over half an hour about kidney health and how important it is and how passionate I am about it. So what would I like you to do as a result of kindly watching, listening to this? For the first thing is, you may be thinking, oh, I could be at risk of kidney disease, and I don't know, because a lot of people don't. So on our website, we have a kidney health check where you can answer a few questions and get an idea about whether you're at higher risk and whether you should go and get further tests at your GP. So that's the first thing to do. Do that kidney health check. The more people do that, the more people are aware of any issues. Another thing you can do is have conversations with your loved ones about organ donation. Now, we saw the video of people, live donors, and I also talked a little bit about deceased donors. So a lot of kidneys come from somebody who's passed away. And having that conversation with their loved ones it can be difficult, but it doesn't mean you're any more likely to pass away. But it does mean if something horrendous happens, you do know what your loved ones want and they know what you would want. We have very recently, 9th of February, so this is really hot off the press, it's only been going a couple of weeks, we have just introduced a new patient and carers forum called Kidney Community, very new. It's doing really well. It's basically trying to encourage support community within anybody that's been affected by kidney disease. Now, you may be thinking, oh, I don't know anybody that's affected by kidney disease. And that might be the case, but you might actually find you do, you just don't know it. Because when I was interviewed for the job back in June at Kidney Research UK, one of the things I said is, we often ask people at the interview, have you got a personal connection? And they will say no. And then when they go back and say, I'm working for Kidney Research UK, somebody within their community will say, well, actually, I've got kidney disease, or actually, my mum has kidney disease. And it's amazing how many people, when you start a conversation about kidney health, will sometimes say, well, actually, yes, this does affect me. You just didn't know about it. And that certainly happened to me because one of my close friends then shared that her parents had both had kidney disease and I hadn't known that. So tell anybody about the kidney community. That's a really good thing. We really want to get that as widely out as we can do, and it is so new. And sort of relate to that, start conversations about kidney health. Follow us on social media, share the post, because you never know who might need that, who might need to know, actually, there are people available who can help with that. And, oh, I didn't know this was a higher risk, or I didn't know that perhaps I ought to get my blood pressure checked. So sharing our posts, sharing things about kidney health, whether it's ours or whether it's one of the other kidney charities or an NHS one, it's great. And then what I love, obviously, as the volunteer officer for Kidney Research UK, I would love to get more volunteers in Wales. And if you're not sure about whether you want to volunteer, whether it's for you, please do get in touch. I will share my email address and get in touch and have a conversation with me about it, because we're not going to push you into a role if you're not comfortable with it, but it would be really great to get those conversations going. So we have a lot of different volunteer roles, really want to raise awareness all over the country, but particularly in areas where we haven't got as many volunteers as we would like, and so that would be amazing. So thank you very much for listening. I'm now going to put it open to questions. I hope that people are still here. I'm not medical and I'm fairly new, so I'll do my best to answer. If I don't know, I'll do my best to find out. That's all I can say. So over to questions. Oh, I'm getting the tab up and I'm trying to get it on there. Just applying to volunteer. I'm based in Swansea. Oh, that's brilliant. That's brilliant, Claire. Fantastic to hear. It'd be really, really great to have some more people, well, multiple people generally, but yeah, some more people in Wales. Brilliant. Oh, well, thank you, Tamara. Any more questions? I know it can be difficult if we're in a group and you're thinking everybody's going to see the questions. If I can't answer it, I'm happy to come back to you on a personal one. By all means, you can get in touch. Don't think it's a silly question. I'm hoping I've given people to think about. Thank you, Jennifer. You'd love to join this journey. Please do get in touch, and we'll share with Tamara and Sarah the email address and the details of the website with the information on. It would be great to have conversations with anybody, even if you're not sure. It'd be brilliant. Please do talk to people you know about kidney health, about getting checked. Use that on the website, the kidney health check. Thanks for the question, Claire. I can't comment on a medical issue because everybody's very different and I'm not medical, but by all means, it'd be worth talking to medical ones, and why not try going on to our kidney community forum. That may give you some ideas. There's some information on there. There's lots of information on the website, but you might also get information from other people and what they've been experienced. So I would recommend, Claire, having a look at our website and see if you can join kidney community and it can connect to people. Because I know there's lots of, with any medical things, there's lots of medication questions, and it can be difficult because everybody's got very different experiences, and that's done to you with different specialists. But thank you for that. All right, so is urinating frequently at night a sign of kidney disease? I'm not, like I say, it's a medical question. I'm not going to try and answer it because I'm aware that can be a result of all sorts of things. Can I say, Jennifer, go on, do the health check on the website, and it will give you an idea of whether you should get further support. Because the thing is, a lot of things that are a sign of kidney disease can be a sign of other things as well. And it's important to get something checked out. Just want to go on to the Claire's question, which is a good one, about how long you're required to volunteer for. This is the beauty of it. There's no amount of time that you're required to volunteer for. When I take on community ambassadors, they can give as little or as much time as fits in with their lifestyle, for example, because they're doing it within their community. And for events volunteers, so people who are helping out in events, sometimes people will just help out for that one event and then go, and that's fine. And sometimes they want to stay on our books in case there's another event in their area. But sometimes I had a couple of, I have one of my community ambassador volunteers in Manchester who has had a kidney transplant coming up to 2 years ago, but also has worked within a medical field as in kidneys as well. And she was doing a presentation at work, and a couple of her students came to us as events volunteers just to help her out, supporting her at her kidney health stand that she did at work. So it can be a short time, and then we've got people who have been volunteers for a number of years. There's no minimum amount of time you need to do. We can fit in with what works with you. Just say, come and have a conversation. Just drop me an email. We'll have a chat over the phone or over Teams about what works for you. And we can move from there. So there's definitely, we do have an induction process, but there's nothing where sometimes we'll say you've got to volunteer for 6 months or you've got to volunteer for a year. It's whatever fits with you and the different roles. So our volunteer roles at the moment are 18 plus only. Sometimes on events, people may bring their children to help with an event, but we're not taking on volunteers under 18 at the moment. So I have, say, when volunteers are like, we had Charlie on there, he doesn't volunteer on his own. His mum's a volunteer and he volunteers with her. How soon can you start? Really good question. I'm loving Claire and Jennifer putting these questions on. It's great. How soon can one start? Well, very soon, really. If somebody's coming on as an event volunteer, then all I would need would be to get some details from them and get them to complete a volunteer agreement, which takes a couple of minutes to do, and that'd be sufficient to be on. So somebody can start. I could talk to somebody this morning and they could fill the agreement in and they could technically be on books within the hour. If somebody's coming on as one of our roles, such as the community ambassador role or the renal unit contact role, or a peer educator type role, those ones we do ask for a reference. So people aren't starting until they have a reference through. But it's a character reference. It's a very quick form. I know from experience, I've had people send me reference forms for volunteers, which are just ridiculously lengthy. It's a couple of questions and then a few tick boxes. So basically, I have a conversation. Somebody applies, and there's a link to the application form on the website. That's the easiest way, is to apply via the application form, because then all your details are straight onto the system, and I'm not having to say, what's your phone number, what's that? It's not the only way, but it's the easiest way. So then I would have a conversation with the person to volunteer, just to see what their experience was, to put them in the right role, to make sure they understood the roles and they knew what was involved. I say, can you provide a reference? And I say, can you send me a name and an email address of somebody who knows you but's not related to you? And that does not have to be work related. So, I mean, I've had people send me somebody from their faith group, or a colleague from before, or whatever. So anybody that sort of knows you but isn't related to you. I send them a link to the reference form with these two questions, and then that pops up into my inbox. And once that pops in, then you're a community ambassador or a renal unit volunteer. The peer educator was a little bit more complicated, but I pass that on to the team there. And I have had people start certainly within a day. There's been a few people where I've had one or two people. I've had an application come through in the morning. I've sent off an email saying, when can we have a chat? They've come back saying, I'm free now, or I'm free this afternoon. I've had that conversation. They've emailed me a reference, and that person's filled the reference in, and they've started the same day. We have an induction training, but you don't have to have had that to start. We like you to have that within sort of the first 3 months of doing it, and it's an hour's virtual, and we can fit that in. We do some in the evening and we do some in the afternoon. But sometimes it can help to have got started before you do that. So that's certainly not, you don't have to have done that to start. And when I've got that reference through, I send a big email saying, welcome to the team. And it's got lots of links to our Facebook group, to our resources about how to get started. Lots of information on how it can help, how to get your T-shirt from us, and just general ideas. And we just have that about how to join the calls, because we're across the country, so we're virtual. We do two sorts of calls. We do the monthly, we do a formal evening call with an agenda. So last time I did one, we were talking a lot about preparation for World Kidney Day and how you can set up a stand and what you need to do and how to get the resources. I know my colleague Becky, the one she's planning, she's going to get somebody talking about research, the latest research on that one. In addition to that, we have what we call a kidney cuppa catch-up, which is once a week, we just have half an hour where you can just jump on and talk about anything that is on your mind. So very informal. Those are both voluntary. They're optional. You don't. Not everybody attends them, but they're an option to do it. So it pretty much is. I mean, I've worked in volunteering in a number of organisations. This is pretty much as quick to start as it's possible to safely do. So yeah. If you message me this afternoon, I would think it'd be quite unusual if we hadn't got somebody started by the end of next week, and quite often it would be earlier than that. Sometimes people want to think about it and come back to us, which is absolutely fine. I know there may be people watching in the future. So Kidney Research UK, go on the website, there's a volunteer section, there's a link to the volunteer application form. There's lots of things about different events if you're thinking about getting involved in one of the events, either as a volunteer or as a participant. And there's lots of information about kidney community, the kidney health check, and lots of inspiring volunteer stories from people who are using something really difficult that's happened to them to do something amazing, who are very inspiring. I think it's amazing working with volunteers who have had that experience. Do volunteers do extra activities such as in the arts? Not quite sure what you mean by that, Claire. We do have definite volunteer roles, and certainly with the community ambassador role, people do sort of try and use their skills to do it. I can't think of one such as dance and things. I can't think of a role that would immediately fit with. But what I tend to do, if somebody comes through with something that I'm not sure, is have a conversation with them about what their skills are, and then see if it's something that we can fit. And sometimes it doesn't fit, and the last thing I want to do is get somebody in a role that's not going to fit, because I know there are lots of other organisations that have got opportunities, and I'm passionate about volunteering. So whilst, Claire, I can't at the moment think of something involving arts and dance, and if that's something where you've got a particular skill set, let's have a conversation about it, because I can always go to the team and ask, and go to the wider charity and ask whether there's something. So I think, I think we've probably come to, unless any last messages pop up, we've probably come to the end of the session. I'll see if I can manage to sort out a last chance for a message while I'm here, but if something occurs to you afterwards, then by all means do get in touch. Myself and my boss Becky in volunteering, but there's lots of other people within the charity around. So thank you very much for your time. Thank you for listening. Thank you for your questions and your time, and I hope it's made you think a little bit about kidney health.